Just face them, don't you, Eric? Amen. I mean, whatever opposition you meet, you just face it in the name of the Lord. Anyway, what happened was that they wanted to capture Jesus, and they had been told by Judas Iscariot, who was responsible, of course, for his capture and eventually his crucifixion in a sense. Although there's more to it than just that. The fact of the matter was that they came to arrest Jesus. Caiaphas, who was the high priest, the Jewish high priest, you would have thought he would have been on Jesus' side, but he wasn't. So never be carried away with the idea that even Christian religion is sympathetic to Christianity. That's the funny thing about it all. Sometimes the greatest opponents are linked with the Christian religion. You can't understand why, but we can when I tell you the enemy of mankind can worm his way into any situation to bring about tragedy and problems. Anyway, what happened in this particular instance was that a band of brigands, you might call them, although most of them were religiously incensed, from a Jewish point of view now we're talking, they marched off to the Garden of Gethsemane to capture Jesus. Now listen to what I'm going to tell you. They go into the garden where Jesus is, and Jesus goes out to meet them. Jesus doesn't hide in a corner somewhere and says, well, let them come and find me. I'm not going chasing after them. But Jesus went chasing after them, didn't he? He went to them, and they said to him, who are you looking for? What do you want? Why have you come like this with brandishing weapons and things like that? And they said, we've come to find Jesus of Nazareth, which was a common way of explaining who he was. No sentiment about it at all, was there? We want Jesus of Nazareth. We've come to capture him. We've been well paid to do this, and we want to do it well. Now, Jesus has already walked up to them, and he said, who are you seeking? Jesus of Nazareth, they said. Do you know what Jesus said? I am he. Here I am. You don't have to go chasing after me to try and catch me and I've come to you. Now, what do you want me to do? We want you to come with us to Caiaphas, the high priest. Listen, the high priest at that time. We want you to come with us to the high priest. So Jesus went with them. And that was the beginning of it. What we might say was his humiliation to the limit, and that limit was crucifixion. Now, Jesus had already said, I can call 12 legions of angels to come and save me if I need to be saved, but I don't want to be saved. I want to be crucified. That's why I'm saying I'll come with you. Come on, get on with the job. Or, as Jesus put it, that which you're planning to do, do quickly. Get it over with. If you're going to kill me, get it over with. And that just proves to us conclusively that the crucifixion of Jesus had to do with his obedience to the Father, because God had told him already what he must do. He must follow the instructions that are being spelt out to him. Now, as I said, Jesus could have called 12 legions of angels. He needn't have done all that. He needn't have got crucified. He needn't have gone through it. But he did it for a purpose, for a reason. And as Peter the Apostle said a little later, after the resurrection, of course, he said this, or as Jesus himself said, no man taketh my life from me, I lay it down of myself. Because my Father has told me exactly what to do about all this. I mean, Jesus didn't add, and he could well have added if he'd wanted to do. He could have said, I don't know what I'm letting myself in for, but my Father has shown me clearly what I must do, and I'll do it. Because that would have put a little edge on it, wouldn't it? That would have made them feel a bit sorry for Jesus. But no, he didn't take that pathway. He who knew no sin became sin for us, because his dying on the cross was to take into his body. Now Peter writes this in his epistle. He says that Jesus absorbed in his body our sins. Notice, not in his spirit, but in his body. Now you and I have a body, and we have a spirit, a spiritual part of us, of great intrigue. That means that when we die, that's not the end of us, because what happens at death is our natural body ceases to function in its natural order, but our spiritual being is very much alive. Yeah. Now the proof of this is as follows. While Jesus was dying on the cross, bearing our sins in his body on the tree, 2 Peter 2:24, I think it is, in the scriptures, while Jesus was bearing our sins in his body, not in his spirit, in his body on the cross,